Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
If you're looking for comfort and luxury at its best, it is usually limited options, especially this festive season. One of those options is, of course, Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe, located in the heart of Entebbe. They offer different services when it comes to hotels and, of course, accommodation and hospitality, all that. You need to check them out with friends and family. Where are you spending your New Year? You can decide to spend it at Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. You are welcome to Issues at Hand this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of Church of Uganda Family TV, first of all, but particularly at this hour, of course, Issues at Hand, where we get to discuss different issues that affect us as people in the same society, people living under the same, these days we are referred to as a global village because of the internet and what it has done to bring us closer. So as such, as a society in Uganda, in Kampala, we do have issues that we usually face, and they are similar in some cases. For example, women's rights, very, very similar things. As women, what do we go through? As the men who are with us in this society, what do they see women go through? All that is what we're going to be discussing today. And of course, don't forget to follow the conversation on our Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, as well as YouTube at COU Family TV. And of course, leave your comment as regards to the topics that we are discussing today, and we will be getting back to you. Today is a beautiful, beautiful day because I do have she has been here. She is from FIDA Uganda. She is a women's rights defender and activist, and she has done, or she and her organization have done a very tremendous job at protecting women and making sure that women actually are at the forefront of receiving what they deserve. It is one thing to be a woman and live like you are a dog. I'm sorry to use that word, but we have seen situations where women are treated as such that I've mentioned. It is another thing, however, to know your rights and to know who you are as a woman and how exactly you are supposed to go through and about certain situations. My name is Carol. You are most welcome to the show. And now I get to welcome our guest, Aloyo Omega from the Communications Unit of FIDA Uganda. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Anglican myself, so every time I come on this show, I'm excited to see. I'm at home, but I'm also excited to see that the Church of Uganda is taking active steps to have these conversations here.
Yes.
Greetings from FIDA Uganda. We just celebrated 50 years. 50 more in the works for us. Yes.
Wow. 50 more in the works, and you'll still be a part of those 50. Yes, that's beautiful. Off air, you admired what a certain preacher was saying on one of our adverts, and why?
The preacher was saying, it was a joke, I think. The preacher was saying, the lion was saying, all the married people go to this side, and the hare said that, what about some of us who sleep like what? Like marrieds. Not, you see why that is funny? Yes. Because it sounds like a joke, but it is symbolic of what is happening in society. Yes, that you have people that are married by the ring, but then you have a group of people that are living like marrieds, but then are not married, right? So where do they fall? So I know later on in the conversation we shall talk about that when we are talking about protecting the property rights of women in cohabiting relationships.
Yes, please.
Yes.
What is your take on cohabiting? Would you be comfortable if a man came to you and... Actually, in cohabiting, people usually find themselves in that situation. Would you be comfortable finding yourself living with a man? You come from home, go to his place, and you don't go back. Just start a whole new life. What are your views on that?
For many people, the ideal is marriage, right? The ideal is to get a partner and get married to this partner legally so that you're covered you're covered legally. But then people don't get married because of very many reasons. Money, for starters, right? Not everyone will have the resources to actually get married. Some people, it is choice. Some people can't be with each other because of what? Of their religions. So there are different factors that are at play to determine if a woman or a man becomes married. If we are blind to this, we are using just one test to say that everyone should be married. But what if there is no money to actually get married? So should people stay separated? I think I have a statistic somewhere in these notes of the Uganda Bureau of Standards saying that there is an increase in the number of people that are cohabiting in this country. It should be 25% among women and about 16% among men. Not so sure, but if you check the Uganda Bureau of Standards report, you'll see this in there.
Yes.
So if the Uganda Bureau of Statistics is saying that this is a trend that is happening, we can't be blind to it. True. And say, no, it's not happening. These women are not entitled to anything. They should have got married, right? I like using the example of politicians. You know, when they beat a woman, in Uganda, they say, yakubiye mkazi we. But then when you go to court, si mkazi we. Yeah, si mkazi wange. Now when you're in the process of having children with this person, living with this person, this is the mukazi. And we should be alive to what is actually happening in society. I don't think all our parents are married, right? I have so many relatives that are unmarried.
Very many. Yes. And friends that we've seen.
Yes, and friends, especially among this younger generation.
Yes. Which is what I want to, I want to bring my next question on that. As women, marriage and the wedding are different.
Yes.
Women want to just be lavish. Because trust me, if you decided to get married, you would. Comfortably, without many people, just two witnesses, you would go away married legally. But the problem with cohabiting is people. What's causing cohabiting is you want a big wedding. Come on, you like want to move into a grand, and you want to spend a lot on a wedding instead of investing in the marriage. You agree with that?
I don't necessarily agree, though I understand that it's a train of thought, but a question of choice, right? Because marriage as an institution is entered into by one person and the other party, right?
Exactly.
So if this one party wants to have a lavish wedding,
it's their choice.
It's their choice.
But there's no money, like you've said.
There is no money, but if they're willing to wait and do it at their own pace, right? So it comes again to choice. We cannot take away the choice from individuals to live how they have decided to what? To live. You can't have government intervention in the choice to marry, right? That, okay, from today we are going to, all Ugandan weddings should be below 2 million because you women don't want to get married. No, you cannot take away the choice. So the question of choice is always important. Just like you wake up in the morning and you have a red shirt and a green shirt.
And you have
to choose. It is a very simple decision, but I tell you, if someone comes and says, Carol, wear that red shirt,
you will wear the green.
You wear the green one because you say, no, I have autonomy over myself.
You're such a lawyer.
Choice, yes.
Okay, now talking about the fact that you're not in court though, you're on family TV.
Yes.
Have you heard of the marriage bill?
Yes, I have. I've heard of the marriage bill.
Now it is trying to paint a picture that cohabiting is also regarded as marriage. And I see you supporting this.
Cohabiting is regarded as marriage.
It's going to be, yes. But if you are cohabiting, you're literally married.
What the marriage bill seeks to do, in my humble opinion, it seeks to sort of try to make sure that people's interests are covered. That is where I would, from a broader angle, that is how I would look at that marriage bill. If we go into the question of the marriage bill is trying to make sure that the married are unmarried and the married are, those questions, they will not, the gist of what is actually trying to be protected will be what? Will be lost. So if we look at it from the angle that the marriage bill is trying to make sure that every woman has their interest what? Covered. At FIDA Uganda, I'll give you an example. I like to use the example of Medina. You do not know her. I know her.
Okay.
She's a woman. I think she's about 60 years old, lived with her husband 30 years. They constructed Wuzigo. He was not working, she was working. But as is the case for very many illiterate women, she was made to sign as a what? As a witness to property that she bought. And the husband signed as what? As the owner of the property. And when we receive these land cases, the LCs will blatantly tell you this is what happens.
Because the law says.
Because tradition, culture says that when we are going to buy land, how do I? We are very lucky, Carol, that me and you could be educated on this show. But there are so many women out there that are not. So Madina's case, she signs as a witness, right? And then later on they go and she's trying to get her property, and the court is saying no, right? You're not a married woman.
Imagine.
So what that marriage bill is trying to say is that for women like Madina, for women that are making contributions in marriage, their interest is covered. That at the point of separation, you have some sort of, of something to walk out of that marriage with. And not all work is paid work. We are living in a time where care work is becoming something very important.
Yeah.
That's the reason you have a babysitter. That's the reason people are actively taking their children to daycare centers.
Yes.
Right? So I remember one time there is a judge during a moot competition. The judge said, women's rights activists, as you advocate for the property rights of women in cohabiting relationships, come to these judges and tell us that a woman is a cleaner, she's a teacher, she's an accountant, right? All in one job, right? So from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
She's a cleaner.
Yes. And she's also with the marrieds at night, no? So she's also with the marrieds at night, right? So imagine living this type of life for 50 years. Yes, your husband is going to work and he's making the money, but you're the one that is actively taking care of the home.
So being a caretaker is a job as well.
It is a job. Care work
should
is
not
work.
be undermined.
It should not be undermined.
Like
Care
your
work
wife is just at home doing nothing. Nothing.
There is not. Have you ever done housework? But you know what housework is,
my dear. Just cooking alone
just
and then cleaning.
But these are things that we undermine because we are conditioned to think that women are naturally caregivers.
African society.
It is okay. Let her
People who are fighting this bill are coming from the angle of we need to protect the African culture, where a man is the head, a woman follows through as a helper, which is also the biblical way to do it.
But you see, African culture is being misconstrued. It is not like that. If you actually find those deeply traditional people, it is a very communal sort of culture, right?
Yeah.
It takes into consideration these things. It is not like this European constitution that is written in stone, right? Even in the Bible, the biblical point of view, yes, the husband is the head of the what? Of the family, but there is a certain Bible verse where I don't know who was writing, Paul or one of the, but I go to church, I want to say, but he says, husbands, love your wives, right?
Yes.
And in that particular scripture, you see that there is a certain interconnection, right?
Everybody has a contribution.
Everyone has a contribution. So, in essence, that particular verse is supposed to say that to have harmony in a home, right? There has to be consideration of both these parties. So whether it is the husband, you have a duty. Whether it is the wife, you have a duty. And we shouldn't just look at Bible verses as saying this and this and this. That's why it made me very happy when that man of God, that Reverend was saying, what about those ones who sleep like married? Because it is showing you that a Reverend is actually alive to the fact of things. These are the people that come to church and give, they throw their money in the cupboard, right? They are also part of the community. So why should they be alienated?
Okay. So, still on the marriage bill, you wouldn't mind sharing your husband, would you?
Again, it comes down to the question of choice. We must, choice sounds like a very small word, but it is the word that is most important in rape cases, right?
Yeah.
Choice. Did you say yes? You find women that are Muslim, 4 wives. But if you do the investigation, was there a choice? Yes, there was. I'll be Hajjat number 1, I'll be Hajjat number 2.
Yes.
And I tell you, the world is changing. And I'm Christian, not that I'm extremely contemporary and I'm supporting Western ideals.
No.
But again, it comes down to choice. Am I going to get a man and tie him down on a tree to stay with me? No, we have so many cases in this society where you're finding people having children outside of wedlock, and these children are secret, and they come out on the day of what?
Of burial.
Of burial, and then you have all this. And these sound like just social examples, but these are legal issues. Because now us as lawyers would have to say, okay, she has these children, right? According to the law, these children are not discriminated against. So again, it comes down to choice, the way that people agree to live amongst themselves. Yes.
So are there some parts of the bill that should be edited out? Because now, the argument we are having now is that it is okay, some parts are okay, and they will cause impact, good impact, on women especially, in society. But also there are parts that are questionable. A woman having 2 husbands, because it will be allowed, just in case it's passed. Now a man can have 4 wives, yes, but can a woman have 4 people?
Journalists are very, very clever people. But what I will say is, on that marriage bill issue, my thoughts on the marriage bill have always been that we need to have accountability in our legislative process. So we have parliamentarians, and I like to use this example. We have parliamentarians going to parliament, and they're debating, and they're saying, no, yes, no, yay, you've seen. The ayes have it, the nays have it. That can't be how you legislate issues in a country in this 21st century, right? So my thoughts have always been that we need a certain sense of accountability, that this is the marriage bill in its entirety. You're a member of parliament for Gulu, not so? How many people are in Gulu? About 400,000 people. If you were chosen to be the representative of these people gave you the power to legislate on their behalf.
Yeah.
When the marriage bill comes before you, you should not just say aye and nay. Of course, you've done your consultations. Give reasons as to why you're voting like that.
Very true.
So parliamentarians themselves have to come into themselves and say that this is the bill before us. My name is, say, Honorable Aloyo Omega from Gulu district. On clause 1, I vote yes. Because so and so and so. On clause 2, I vote like this because of this and this and this. This clause, I say no, right? And then you have a computation of all that.
Yeah.
And then now they analyze, because that is how we are going to move forward as a country. Then you will see that some clauses will what? Will fail, some clauses will pass by majority, some will be questions. You see, then what comes out of that is a bill that is useful and helpful to the people. Why? Because there was some sort of accountability. When you go on the parliament website,
yes,
you would actually be able to access that bill and see how different legislators voted.
True.
And how that aligns with you, right? So then you would know that, okay, this clause didn't pass because these and these members of parliament didn't work. And not to get political, if you look at the current composition of parliament, who is majority in parliament?
Right? The men.
The men, but also the national resistance movement, right?
Oh, okay.
So if and I saw in the recent something around coffee, how people were arguing. And I was thinking, you cannot win. You cannot win if the numbers are against you, and it is a question of aye, nay. It becomes like a choir, right?
Yeah,
the ayes have it, not so? But if parliamentarians went into themselves and said that we are changing the way that we vote as parliamentarians, it is going to become accountability based, right? And then we put this on the website for your people to see. Then who will vote in a way that is not sensitive? Because you know, if you vote in a wrong way, you're not going back to what? To parliament. So those are my few thoughts on the marriage bill.
We're still on the marriage bill. We're still on the marriage bill, but now I want to understand. Women have faced a challenge where their property, just like you were telling us about Medina, their property has been swindled, should I use the word, or taken away forcefully. Can you give us a scenario that would help this? What would solve the challenge of women losing? Because now this bill is proposing a signing of a prenup where even if you walk away, you can as well walk away with nothing as long as you signed that you do not need anything from the marriage. Yet you've put your work and your years. You've seen that caretaking is also becoming a what? A full-time job. So what are some of how can we help this situation so that women do not lose their property rights?
Just on that point of the prenup, now I think you see what African society and Western society are. Because a prenup in African society would never be heard of. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
But because we are so quick to look for Western solutions to our African problems, we end up with going whatever is on paper. Because you saw Kim Kardashian having a prenup with Kanye West.
And she got millions.
And she got millions.
Or
because
she didn't.
No. So again, when we are thinking about legislation, what works in our context? What works for our local African women? That they will be swindled. Because then it's very easy for me, as a man, if I get some legal advice, to craft a prenup and give it to an illiterate woman and say, hey, take a woman, go on. And that is it. So you find that something that you envision, the law solving, is actually working for what? For us.
Wow.
I remember there was a case, I don't remember the particular citation, but in that case I think the judge was saying, provide receipts of the things that you bought together or that you contributed to in the marriage. And that is also not a very feasible standard, right? Because who wakes up in the morning? I can give an example. In my household, I stay with my niece. In my household, someone will pay the rent, but I will be buying the things that are needed for the home. So sugar, food, things like this. But Am I computing every 5,000 for the kilo?
You can't compute those
You see,
things.
5,000 for the kilo.
But
at the same time, even if it was buying land, yes, I understand what the judge was trying to say, that you have to be alert as a person. If you're giving away 5 million, then document it. But you also have to take the context in which these people are. These people are in love. We contribute, we do this and this and this. So, in law, there is something called prima facie. It means on the face of it, right? So even judges have to have that humanistic lens, that if people have come to you, they have been together for 50 years, surely this woman was not sitting by the poolside drinking mojito the whole duration of these 50 years. There was some contribution. Yes,
that's a very powerful point. The woman was just not sitting by.
She wasn't
this business
by.
of she has nothing. These things are mine. I should stop. But anyway, but first wait. Let me first make a point. I thought the judges follow what the prosecutors bring on table.
The judges follow what the prosecutors bring on table, but when you're looking at the way that judges operate, they can follow the law, and of course they do follow the law, but the way that they interpret cases is different. It's called jurisprudence. Yes, the jurisprudence of how you do a thing. Are you doing it in a very strict way and saying, you know what, the law says this, there is no turning back? Or are you making provision, right? Are you considering statistics from the Uganda Bureau of Standards, which are not binding law in opposition to the Constitution and statutory instruments? But there is always that gap. I forget the exact word. But there is a way even judges, in the way that they do their work, they can exercise certain ways of what? Of jurisprudence. For example, a judge can decide to be socialistic. So with socialism, you're looking at it from a social angle. And so when I was in law school, our teacher, Dr. Kabumba, told us, when you're looking at the sociological school of law, you ask yourself, if a policeman stops you for a bribe of 2,000, what do you do as a person in that situation? Do you give him the 2,000 and say, go away, or you're angry, this is corruption? The sociological school would dictate that you understand the conditions surrounding that corruption. Has this policeman been paid? Is he earning 90,000 a month? Are his children going to a school where school fees is 140,000 a month? Is there hope for promotion? Right? So that is what the sociological school looks like. So that now you understand, this bribe, is it just an ask for money? Or is it significant of the bigger problems in society? And then now you look at it from that angle, so that when you're looking for the solutions, and you're saying, this one, let me go and report him so that he's fired, you know that you're actually getting him out of the frying pan into the fire. So now your solution in that particular case would be to do advocacy around the salaries of what? Of policemen in relation to the economics. So that is the same way that judges can look at this. Of course, judges, they have their discretion. They have their judicial discretion to handle cases the way that they do. But we've also seen judges be extremely what? If you look at the patterns, we've seen judges extremely have a lens to see. So, yes.
Interesting. Thank you so much. We still have a number of things to look at. For example, an hour may not be enough. But anyway, let me not even give the example. Let's go for a very short break and then return with more on our topic, addressing the human rights violations 2024.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
We're glad you're still watching Church of Uganda Family TV. Thank you so much for keeping it issues at hand. Now, of course, we are still discussing human rights and all that comes with it. Now, remember, human rights, particularly women's rights, have taken the forefront, especially 2024. We've seen activists come out to empower women, to make sure that they're sensitized, especially because it is a very good thing to know something, to have knowledge of something, like I was saying this morning. Because if you don't know something, then you are ignorant and you risk a lot of trouble if you are in that situation. So I want to understand, we are still with Aloyo Omega from FIDA Uganda, and of course she is a lawyer and an activist for women's rights. I want to understand something before we get into, okay, let's start from we've seen situations where a lady goes through something and the consequences that she bears are because she does not know her rights. Now, off air you were telling me government has to do something to make sure that illiteracy is eradicated completely, and that's where I would like to start the conversation. How can government fight illiteracy to make sure that people have knowledge?
How can government fight illiteracy to make sure that people have knowledge?
Yeah, to make sure that people have knowledge of some of these matters. For example, sexual violence, all kinds of violence, the property rights that we were talking about. Somebody must know, but we have people who can't read. If you sit on TV and tell them the Constitution says this and that, and you're a politician, you come here, you be like, the Constitution. Some people can't read the Constitution. How do we help such people?
Of course, government has a very big role to play in making sure that, you know, education is accessible. One time I was reading just different provisions of the law, and I was trying to see who a child is in Uganda. So a child in Uganda, at some point you're 18, below 18, you're a child. But the same law says that at some you can also be a child at 16, you can also be a child at 14. But you see, these inconsistencies, I bring them to show that if you say that a child of 16 years can work, it means that you are directly in opposition to the right of education of that child.
Yeah.
Right? So when you have these gaps in the Constitution, even for something as small as who a child is, below 18 years old, that is a child. Below that, you're not supposed to work, you're supposed to be in school. People like to quote that famous constitutional provision, of power belongs to the people and shall be exercised in accordance to their will. That is exactly what it is. This government that is in power, you gave it the power to be in power for your behalf, so that it can collect your taxes and make sure that your taxes are used for what? To provide education for you.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about how can government provide education services for the people, it is the mandate of government to provide education services for the people. You know, people, Ugandans go abroad and they come back so impressed. Can you imagine in that country every child goes to school? The education is free from there.
Go to school.
Yeah, because here it is something foreign. You see children on the street, Karamojong children, I think every time you're passing by them, your heart is breaking.
Ask them.
Very, very young
when
children.
you talk to them, you ask them, why are you here? You're supposed to be in school?
So the right to education, is supposed to be extremely jealously guarded. In fact, I am against private education because I know when you privatize education, you've cut out some people. So that the big players will build all these wonderful schools, and it is only the children of the rich that will access them. And then the children of the poor will have to go to UPE. And what does that mean? It means the children of the rich will go and become this and this, and the children of the poor will stop here. So it creates a system. We are all just there in the cycle. But where does that cycle comes from? It comes from what? From education. So education is perhaps one of the most important things in this world. So even as we talk about legal literacy, legal knowledge, it also comes from knowledge. There are things that you know just because you went to primary school, right? because they told you avoid bad touches.
Yeah.
Such a simple message,
That is a
but
fact.
you already know that this area is for bad touch, this area is for bad touch. So a child that is not in school does not know that, right? Let me read for you the statistics.
Okay.
The UN Women reported that every 11 minutes a woman or girl is killed by a member of her own family.
Yes, I saw that on their website. I'm not sure.
So this show is 1 hour long. How many women have died by the time we close this show? Why? Because you need to empower them to know. But at the same time, moving away from the question of education, is the question of legal aid. I work at FIDA Uganda, not that I'm beating a kalango for us, but legal aid is a very crucial issue. You know, people say, when things happen, I think you've seen on social media, someone is violated. Where is FIDA? Where is FIDA? And I always say in my head, women's rights are human rights. They are not FIDA issues. We make up almost half this population. So legal aid must also be something that is provided for us, right? Maybe just to quote for you the number of cases that we handled last year. We had our AGM this year, and in 2023 we provided legal aid to 25,327 clients. Of these, 70% were women and 29.6% were men. So that dispels the narrative already that FIDA only deals with women. No, we don't care about men. No, we've had men actively come out to us because we are people that look for marginalized people. Poverty does not discriminate if you're a man or a woman. Rape doesn't. Domestic violence doesn't. We've had men come to our offices and say that, you know what, this woman is refusing my children from going to school. And we've had to step in. Yes, you've seen in those family or that drama of partners, like I said, choice. They chose themselves and they're in this situation. So we've seen those scenarios where men actively come to us, and that is legal aid. That is a man actually coming and saying, I want to perform my parental responsibility, but it is being blocked. And we've brought these people together and mediated and seen what to do. But still, on this 1,105 of them were persons living with disabilities. We've reached out to 15,000 children through our FIDA clubs. This is across 19 to 20 districts in the country. So I say these statistics because there was a HEAL is Hague Institute of Legal Innovation. Their survey said that at least 95% of Ugandans have experienced a legal problem within the past 4 years. And a legal problem is a problem relating to land. You know, these are things. These are legal problems, right? But at the same time, I think on the JLOS website, it says that only 18% get legal services annually. So now you have to ask yourself, what are legal services? Legal services are services that help you get out of what? Of this challenge. If your land is being taken, if as a woman you're being raped, or there is domestic violence in your home, if you want to start a business and something is wrong, we have a lot of cases where women are not being paid in the workplace. We have a project with Enabel, supposed to make working systems for women in the Bunyoro area. You know, there is oil and so very many women there are employed. They are catering and making sure that things are okay, but people are actually not paying them. So they come to us. So you see what legal aid does. It makes sure that you know, you have redress, you have your money, you have your dignity as a person. But I bring that to say that we do not have a national legal aid bill in this country. Okay. So that's a very good starting point. That you have all these challenges, you have all these marginalized people, but there is no legal aid bill. You don't have people, actually lawyers that are trained by the government to make sure that, you know what, when there is a challenge, the legal aid bill is making sure that everyone in every district, in every community, in every parish, when your rights are violated as a person, you have some sort of redress. You can actually go to this place and you don't have to worry about the money of it. So women's rights are not a FIDA issue. They are not a WONET issue. They are not issues for the NGOs. They are government issues. And therefore, to the government people that are watching Family TV, to the reverends and to all the devout Christians that out there, the legal aid bill should be something that we are all looking to to fast track. It's a very important bill because it means that the women that are not on this wonderful table can actually go to police without worrying about the cost of a lawyer. Do you know the cost of a lawyer in this country?
I imagine it's quite expensive.
It is.
And we have limited pro bono services. So,
and the people that we are depending on to solve these legal aid issues are also funded by generous partners. You know, the French embassy, the Netherlands embassy. So if other embassies are the ones taking care of legal aid service provision in your country, is that fair to your citizens?
No. You've broken my heart.
Yes, it is. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, okay. Let's recap 2024 anyway. there were some cases there were trends and cases where they were not appropriate. Do you know some of those trends and cases?
Oh, of course I know some of them. I'm sure all of us know some of them. One that particularly broke my heart was the one of Pretty Nicole, right? And how she has been in every blog and every social media page, and everyone is looking at this child who is below 18. Unless, is Pretty Nicole below 18?
She's below 18.
Yes.
But like you said, 16,
so you're
14.
saying how these things interplay. So if you have a young child in a music video by an adult man dancing explicit dances,
naked,
yes, and they're half naked, and the song is called Kankutekem. What does that mean for women's rights and for children out there?
That's
so
bad.
You see things in society, but these things are representative of broader challenges. What is the Uganda Communications Commission doing about this, right? It goes back to children and education. And Pretty Nicole should be in school. If we were to go by a very, very strict standard, she should be in school studying and making sure that her life is on a certain trajectory. But of course there are issues. I don't want to be unalive to the fact that sometimes there is no money and you have the right to work. So how are you holding accountable these musicians as the Uganda Communications Commission who are getting a child, putting her in a sexually explicit video, I think in a swimming pool in a bathing suit, and are doing this because she's a child. She has not yet fully come to understand what this particular decision may mean in years to come. Still, on the question of music, there was, I think, a Bruno K song. This one you know because we were just chatting about it on air.
I know.
Nakuliako, even if you do what Nakuliako,
And actually, people on social media were coming out to say, this song needs to be stopped. It is undermining women.
It's undermining women, but it also perpetrates gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is not just waking up and, beating women. It is also subtle in the music that we listen to. So if someone is driving home and he's listening to a very vulgar song like that, telling a woman, by the way, Article 21 of the Constitution says we are all equal before the law. So we all have equal access to dignity, right? But if this is the music people are listening to over and over, degrading women, Nakuliako is just an example of what it means to view a woman as a sex object. This one I just ate.
Which is sexual violence.
Because Nakuliako means I ate it.
I've realized sexual violence is not just touch. Even mentally, what you tell me mentally, you can offend me by that.
It can trigger you. Imagine that lady for whom that song was made, and I know she was in social media. You remember? Because people posted up the picture. This is the lady who Bruno K was singing about that So what does that mean for that person, right? But it goes back to the question of legislation, which is why the law is a very important thing in society. It actually has the power to govern, to say that this video should be taken down. These people can actually be taken to the courts of law. What is the compensation for this person, right? Imagine a woman came out in this social patriarchal world that we live in. She came out and she sang Nakuliako. What would be the repercussions? So there is a double standard to how we do things as society, and the law should come in to try to make sure that it's evening out that double standard. Yes.
Okay. First of all, you said they should come up with that law that governs the legal part of it. What else should be done maybe in 2025 to make sure that such cases actually decrease or actually disappear?
Corporate governance. I once attended a meeting where there was someone from the Institute of Corporate Governance. Corporate governance is how you do your things, making sure that they are aligned to the law, making sure that they are aligned to society. But that Institute of Corporate Social Governance is an NGO. It is not a government body.
Not a government body.
You see, so why isn't an Institute of Social Corporate Governance a government body? You see, tracking and saying that this is malaligned. No, but that's besides the point. That's a very little nudge. But television stations, journalists, some of these things, even when you come up with a company, that company can decide what to air and what not to air, right?
Yeah.
What is in your constitution as an organization? Will you play music that is misogynistic, music that is deliberately putting women down? So those are some of the small things in the law, but then also corporate governance. Media plays a very, very huge role. You see, I'm just here sitting on this particular chair but how many people are listening, right?
Yes, yes.
So imagine now Nakuliako and Pretty Nicole is in the media all the time, but then at the same time, as we are on this topic, sorry to digress, it also brings me to the question of technology facilitated gender-based violence. GBV these days is not just it is not just in person. GBV is happening on Twitter. I don't know if you know that Instagram page called Mbuyuji.
Yes,
you know it. You run there and you're seeing what is the latest, hottest gossip. But women are actually being abused. You see Winnie Nwaji, Winnie Nwaji, I like to use her example because people say, this woman is so violent, she's so aggressive.
Because she refuses to be...
If you imagine you're here, in your workplace, this is how you make money for your family. And someone is actively touching your vagina.
I slapped someone here, not that part, but they were trying to be, and I slapped them because I could not. Let me tell you what happens if you report or if you come out. It's like, no, you see, there's a lot of, so you rather like get it out there and say, you know what, I'm uncomfortable with the way you're touching me, which is why I'm saying women should be actually educated on how, because another lady will just keep quiet and be like, okay, fine.
So you see, that's a very, very good example, because if yourself you say that reporting channels are not strong enough, that first of all, sexual violence is something that if you were to report, first of all, you yourself, you've already gone through something extremely disgusting.
Exactly.
So the reporting mechanism has to be free enough for you to to go and report. So you find women are left to defend themselves, which should not be the case. So meaning what, you should not be getting the microphone and you've seen those videos.
She shouldn't fight for herself.
Yes, you shouldn't.
The law should actually.
The law should. You know, the Uganda Musicians Association, I see they are really extremely looking at loyalties and how to
copyrights, but they are forgetting very crucial things.
As the Uganda Musicians Association, are you coming up with guidelines to make sure that artists are safe, and at the same time is Parliament making sure that some of these fields are safe, right? We saw Rebecca Cheptegei, a sportswoman. Do you know what it means to kill a person with acid? To actually be burnt, your life is burnt. So what are you doing for women in sports-dominated fields, right? In male sports-dominated fields. Yes. Because imagine being a woman and you're an athlete. Already that is a field that, you're sidelined. When people think about football, they think about the Uganda Cranes, which are men. But there are women actually in there working. So how are you protecting these people?
Sorry for even cutting you short. I want to say it's all fields. You know, when you're a lady, they be like, no, she would have headed that department, but she's a woman.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. So this issue is deeper than the surface.
It is.
And I really like this discussion. I really hope it would continue, but I'm seeing the time is running so fast. I have a simple question. This 29% of men who came to FIDA Uganda, what was the problem?
What was the problem? There is no one single problem. People come to FIDA for different reasons. Some people come for land issues. Some people come for family issues. Others come even for domestic violence cases.
For a man to speak up, it takes, should I say, a lot of courage.
Yes, it takes a lot of courage because we have also built men in a way that they should not speak up, right? They should not be emotional beings, and that is why gender, it's very, very important to look at what gender is these days. When you're growing up and you're buying for your child, a blue shirt for a boy and a pink shirt for a girl, you're already boxing them, right? People go to funerals and they say, and you see the man, it is his mother who has died, right?
He can't cry.
So when we say as FIDA Uganda, we've received men that are facing challenges. People say, what were they reporting? No, but vulnerability is vulnerability. And that also brings me to another point of, as we go into 2025, men engage. We have to now start actively engaging men. Because this gender-based violence and this domestic violence that is perpetrated against women, it is not perpetrated by animals. It is perpetrated by fellow human beings in society, right? So how do you make sure that we are providing the legal aid and the services that these women need? But we're also looking at men engaged. I remember at some point I spoke about the FIDA clubs. So in these FIDA clubs, what usually happens is you're talking to young boys and girls, right? Because GBV in a family comes when you don't know what conflict resolution is. Yeah? So when you go to a FIDA school and you're talking to children and you're saying, okay, what happens when you disagree with a person? No, for me, I say my father just, no, that is not how it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to sit down with a person and say, what was your point of view? You see, but all that is termed as men engage. You're engaging men to change their attitudes, which sometimes actually not even their fault. For many and for some, it is their fault. But sometimes it is how they have been raised. You see, a Muganda man will of course be a Muganda man. He will have a certain, but that is what advocacy is supposed to do. Advocacy is supposed to reach out to you, tell you that, okay, this is the current state of things, but this is the disadvantage with doing things like that, right? And this is the advantage of changing things like this. You've seen things, and even when you talk about culture, culture is not static. You remember FGM for women? Yeah. It went, but at some point FGM was culture. You mean it disappeared completely in Uganda? It's still practiced, but again, that is the beauty of the law. When the law says that FGM is illegal, it means if you're doing it, you have to hide, and if you're caught, you have to face the penalty. So culture is static, and we have to engage men.
Very interesting. Please, your last words to the public as we close this show.
My last words to the public is, as you go out into 2025, the saying is charity begins at home, but does not end there. Think about your home states. Think about how you do things in your home. Are you a man? Are you a woman? We are on family TV, as a devout Christian. The way that you're handling things, is that setting the example for your daughters and your sons in the way that they're going to be responsible adults, right? Are you raising a person that is going to commit domestic violence, right? To the government agencies out there, are you being true to yourself? I went to Trinity College Nabingu. Our motto was beat you, and we were made to ham it every minute. Beat you, beat you. Are you being true to yourself as a member of parliament? When you're opposing the marriage bill, are you seeing the opportunities that are in there? As a policeman, as whatever station life puts you at, responsibility starts with individual responsibility and accountability and integrity. Our motto says, for God and my country, right? Those are the two things that you are serving. You're serving God, and very many people have their own perceptions of God, but the whole concept of God is belief in a higher being and in a higher moral standard. So those would be my last words to people. I'm not a motivational speaker, so I don't know what to say as last words to people, but right is right and wrong is wrong. Yes, and women's rights are human rights, and women, they have a right to live like anyone in this society. Anyone else. Yes. And women are very capable and well able to accomplish and achieve very, very, very many things. Well, let me also give my last words. Yes. My last words would be that as a journalist out there, how are you reporting the stories? Do you look at a story and be like, this one is about a woman? It won't make news. It won't give me likes. Especially social media bloggers. You want to jump on the stories that are hot, even when they're actually demeaning women, like we've been talking about. However, these things that women go through, they cause scars to their minds that you can't understand if you are not them. Something happens to someone and they'll never forget it. They'll keep thinking about it. It will torture them for life. Why? Just because you couldn't be respectful. So let's respect each other as the new year gets into play. Let's try and respect each other, because anyway, there's no reason. Let's just respect each other. My name is Carol. Thank you so much for being a part of Church of Uganda Family TV. We still have a long line of programs that you ought not to miss, entertainment and all the other educative programs. Please do keep it Church of Uganda Family TV. So as issues at hand, we do join you, or you do join us tomorrow once again, same time, same station. From myself and the production crew, it's a good morning.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.